everyone! Are you a Broadway fan but you don't live in New York? Well, I share your struggle. I am a huge Broadway fan, but I live miles and miles away from the Great White Way, from Times Square, from all the Broadway theaters. And for me, it's a struggle because every time there's a new show, every time there's a new actor that's coming to Broadway, I always tell myself, I wish I was there. The struggle is real. Today, I want to talk to you about how I deal with being so far away and what you can do as a Broadway fan who does not live in New York or nearby. Because what can you say? Sometimes the Broadway bug catches you, but you are not American, you are not a New Yorker, and you just want it every day of your life, but you can't. So you find other ways. The first way is the best way for everybody. And it's this new kind of trend that started in the last few years, which is a pro shot. And what do I mean by a pro shot? Some of the Broadway shows have professionals come and film the show. It costs a lot of money. So that's why not all of the shows do it, but shows that return their investment or want it to be out there forever, they come and they film it. So what they usually do is they take a few days and they film a few shots really closely and on stage, and then they take a few performances which they film from the audience, with an audience usually, that is going to hype the actors and bring much more energy to everything. This is a thing that has been done for years, but only in the last few years it has become so common. The first main one and the most famous one that I think was actually out is the Legally Blonde pro shot, which was filmed through MTV and it was shown there. This was years ago. It was recorded in 2007. That was almost 20 years ago. And that was huge because there was always this consensus that if you film the musical, people won't come and actually see it live. But it has been proving that is actually the opposite, because people see it on TV and they get excited so much that they want to see it again with live performers. And it's such a different thing to see something on stage than seeing it in the cinema or on your TV or even on your computer sometimes. I can tell you I don't have a TV. I don't really watch the pro shots on my TV. I watch them on my computer. And it's sad. It's really sad. I prefer going and seeing a Broadway show. But when you live far away, sometimes these are all the things that you can do. We have tons of shows that have had this pro shot. We have Newsies, which is my favorite one. They actually filmed it at the end of the tour. Sometimes they film it on Broadway itself before casting is changed. They did that in Hamilton. Before the original cast started leaving the show, they filmed it because that was a huge success. And they just released the Merrily We Roll Along with the iconic trio that really made the show pop again on Broadway. And we have a lot. We have Waitress with Sarah Bareilles. We have Come From Away, Kinky Boots, and so many more that I hope will come. Maybe they will film the chess one that is now on Broadway, and maybe Happy Ending. I am sure that will get either a pro shot or an actual film. We see a lot of those things starting to build momentum and starting to be more popular. And I'm really happy about that because, let's say, Bandstand is a show that I have never seen. It was not long on Broadway, but they did do a pro shot and I loved it. And I felt it, and it was such a fun thing to see, especially now that there's no other way to see it. That is the best way to see any Broadway show for any Broadway fan, to just get into a show, just watch the pro shot. There's a bunch of them out there. I feel like we're around the 50, maybe even more. I don't know. But yeah, that is the best way. But sometimes we have shows that do not have the pro shot. Usually it's a production cost that they can't afford. Maybe it's other reasons. But what do you do if there's a show that you really, really want to see, really like, but you have no other way? Well, we do have bootlegs. We all know that there are bootlegs running around. A bootleg, if you don't know, is an illegal filming of the show. People do it until these days. All the shows, they somehow get a camera inside and somehow they film the whole thing. And then they put it on YouTube or other platforms, and you can find it if you want. It's usually not a good quality at all. Sometimes you don't see, like, they hide the camera so you don't see it. It's not the best, but it is something that you can watch to see the show if you want to see it on a stage in some capacity. And it's a funny thing because that's how we, the outside of the US people, kind of survive. And I feel like the true Broadway fans will see a bootleg, but they will know that it's not close at all to the quality that they can see in Broadway. So they do both. They see a bootleg, and then if the show is still running a few years later, they actually see it. So I will say, if you find a bootleg, that is fine. Make sure that you also support the Broadway community and try to get to Broadway to see those shows if you can. But I know that sometimes it's too hard to afford the plane ticket, the staying there, and the tickets to the shows themselves. So bootlegs are another way. But usually the bootlegs just suck. It takes all the fun out of it. It is something that is happening But if you are not supporting the bootlegs and you don't like those things that the filming is just like low quality and really hard to see and get the adventure of it all, then the best way is just to deep dive into the cast recording. Usually every show has a cast recording. Sometimes they even released a few cast recordings according to actors who are switching. They did that in Funny Girl, where they did a cast recording with Beanie Fieldstein, and then they did another one with Lea Michele. We have tons of cast recordings that are going out there. Yes, a cast recording is not always what you see on stage, but it is a way to feel the vibe of the show. I can tell you that I have been listening to some of the songs from the Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York cast recording. I fell in love with that show just from those few songs. I'm trying not to listen to it all because I want to see it live on stage. But if it won't be on Broadway until I can get there, then I'll probably just do a deep dive into that cast recording and listen to it again and again and again. But it's also a great thing after if you do get a chance to catch a show or see it in some other capacity. It's the best way to really feel it. Sometimes it still gives you the energy and still gives you everything that you need as a Broadway fan from afar. Also, if you want to deep dive even more, you can also buy the book, the libretto of the musical. That is the book that has the whole text of the musical, including the songs. And then you can basically read the text and listen to the songs while reading the text of the songs. It's really fun. You can be a director for a day or for however much time it takes you to do that and visualize it yourself and how you would see the pieces moving together. If you have pictures of the productions, that can help you. But it's a really fun thing to just read it and listen to it and then connect the dots yourself. It gives your imagination a place to shine. And I think that's also a nice way. I've done that with the Mad Ones. I have not seen it. I've listened to some of the songs. And I just decided to buy the libretto. I just read it and listened to the songs in the same time. And that was just such a fun thing to just experience it, especially that it's an off-Broadway show, so it's small. So most of the production was probably not that elaborate, so it was easy to imagine how it's going to go. That is a cool thing to do that you can also experience with and try out if it works for you. But if all of those don't happen and they don't work, another way to connect to your Broadway love outside of New York and outside of the US is connecting to your local community of Broadway lovers. I am pretty sure every country has a Facebook group or, I don't know, Instagram or some other way that you can connect to other Broadway lovers from your area. And you can meet up with them and join and do some stuff together. I can tell you that in my country, there is a big Facebook group. It has like 11,000 people, which is it's a lot of people. And they always have a lot of discussions there. If it's on local productions or on Broadway shows, people share their thoughts. I can also tell you that I am the one who is actually doing some community events. So I'm doing Broadway parties and pub quizzes and just like singing like Marie's Crisis in New York. I'm trying to bring that Broadway community and love that we have in New York in a way so I can connect with friends that love the same thing as I do and that we can just share our thoughts on Broadway castings and things that are going on. So I'm pretty sure you have it in every country. And if you don't, open one. Try to be the leader and try to start it out. You will be surprised how many people love it and want to talk about it. So the Facebook groups are the best way to really release all your energy and things that you want to talk about and share. And of course, everything that you want to do and want to learn about Broadway, you can find on YouTube, you can find on social media. I always love connecting to Broadway actors who share their journey. You have Amber, you have JJ Niemann, you have tons of Broadway actors or aspiring actors who share their journeys on shows or on auditions. And I always love following them. I will share a few down here so you can go and give them a subscribe and just follow them and see if their content is something that interests you. Of course, you have all the big celebs, but sometimes it's more fun to just connect to people who are still not as big as the celebs that they bring on Broadway and who are just happy to be there and happy to share their journey, which is always fun. Another way is that Broadway.com do a lot of vlog sequences with actors from the shows. So that is also another way to connect. I always love it. You have some pretty great actors who just take the camera and share their lives. And that's also a great way. And I love Broadway.com for doing that. Of course, you have everything on YouTube and you have all those different things. They're usually behind the scenes. Sometimes there are shows that the production does, and sometimes they share clips from the production. On YouTube, you can find everything. I usually just go on YouTube for hours and just watch my favorite shows. But yeah, it's another way. Of course, you probably know that. The last thing, and I hope That is how I stay connected to my Broadway love and my musicals love, is going to local productions. I'm a huge supporter of the local production, especially in my country. They really starting doing a lot. We have at least 3 or 4 schools that do musicals, and I got a chance to see some of their production, which are usually like more low budgeted. We have a lot of fringe that are usually new productions and even tryouts of things. And then we have the big theaters that do these big productions. Unfortunately, they always do the same ones. Just this year, they've done My Fair Lady, Cabaret, Chicago, West Side Story. All of those have been, this is like the, 4th, 5th production that they've done in the last 50 years. They always do kind of the same productions, unfortunately. But sometimes they do new ones, like now they did Priscilla the Desert Queen, which is exciting and new. They did Dear Evan Hansen and Waitress in the last few years, which was exciting and new and fun. And we also have local musicals that were written by people from my country, and they're also really, really fun. One of them is very inspired by Book of Mormon, but more connected to our culture and our standings, which is fantastic. It's a really good one. And just go and check out your local community and see the theaters or the acting schools. They usually have some productions. They're usually in your language. So that's also a pretty nice thing, so you can really connect to it a bit more when it's your first language, if it's not English. So those are my way to cope with me not being able to be in New York all the time. I will say I try to get to New York at least once in a year or 2. I try to save up and do a Broadway trip and then see all of the shows that I can during that season. But sometimes it's just not possible with the financials or timing. So then I need to go into one of those options that I shared in this video. But I still enjoy them. It's still fun and it's still exciting. And then you get more time to really miss New York and come fresh and happily get to the city. So how do you cope with being far away from Broadway, but still loving all the musicals? I know that some of you are closer to the West End. That is also a possibility, but sometimes even that is far away. So how do you share your love for musicals and Broadway? Please share. I want to hear what you do. And if you like my content, then please like and subscribe the channel. I will see you next time. Bye.